everyone feels comfortable participating. So you won't be hearing from me, but I'm really excited to see you all.
Okay, so I'm gonna activate the interpretation. And I'm gonna give the instruction for the people that is listening in Spanish. Para quienes quieran escuchar en español, vamos a tener interpretación. La Nico se ofreció a hacerlo, por lo tanto, busquen en la barra de abajo, hay un mapa mundi, y ese es el símbolo de interpretación, y ahí la activan. Van a estar escuchando en español a la Nico, y van a escuchar de fondo, bien bajito, lo que está sonando en inglés o como esté sonando, y pueden silenciar el fondo. Si es que les molesta como escucharlo doble, pueden silenciarlo. Hay una opción donde dice eso, ¿ya? Si es que tienen cualquier problema, avísenos por el chat para que podamos resolverlo. So, welcome everyone. We are waiting a couple of minutes so everyone gets in. I think we are almost done. And while we are waiting, I'm sharing a slide from last year. The last time that we met was last year, a year ago, on December 6th. And we get to these beautiful headlines of an important magazine and newspaper about our June 2nd, 2024. So you can go through the headlines and get inspired about what you said last year. So we can set the tone of the meeting, okay? I'm gonna give just 1 minute more and we start. We are gonna have a very tight agenda, so I hope you drink a coffee or whatever you need for that, because we will be moving very fast. As usual, maybe. Okay, I think we are almost all in the call. I'm Antonieta, for those that don't know me. I'm from WCS Chile, and I will be facilitating just a couple of minute of this minute with Camila from Ensayos, and Ulrike, that is around there, from the Greifswald Center, and Nicole will be in the translation. Okay, so okay, the objective of this session is to set our intention and goals for June 2024, and discuss where we will meet if we are meeting in a in-person place, and how we will make it possible. That is a huge theme. So we will take the moment to reflect on that. And what we are doing in the next hour, we are in the opening right now. Then we will be discussing our goals, and we put discussing because it's probably we will not get to the final goal, but we will have an idea, and we will reflect on the where, how, and who should meet on 2024. Okay, so to start, we want to remember our beautiful poem, and we will read the poem so we can remember all that we have done, and just to give us a moment. Cami, could you start? You are mute, remember that.
Hi, everyone. I'm so full of joy to see your faces, and what a turnout. This is such a clear sign of community, of peatland love and care. And so I'm going to get us started in this very performative act, which I know that many of you continue to do because you tell us so, to read this poem, this collective poem that we all wrote over and over again. So here I go, giving my voice to our words. Peatlands are power, yes. Carbon engines, rivers of life, biodiversity. Tickling, ticking, alive, murmuring, sensitive, sensual. Peatlands are memory, flowing and folding into deep, dark matter. They hold our future. Consistent connections through webs of roots, mosses, minerals, glacial retreats, organic synthesis, human life, multi-species kinship. Peatlands are ancestors, one and indivisible, thumping like a beating heart, beating with yours and mine. The spongy wetlands underfoot drink from the heavens and breathe the beauty of color. Smell it?
Yes, respect the living dead peat. Include its language into your songs. We hold peatlands dear, near and far we care because we walk the past that moves us to encourage healing. A gesture, a humble twirl of fate. Territorial rumors tell us that now we must sink into the cycles of regeneration, reparation, and restoration.
Peatlands are teachers, masters of rest, caretakers of water, libraries of climate evolution, of composition and decomposition. If they know, we may know. Intergenerational custody, the honor to serve, invites you. Come, listen to the bog holler, a call from the origin, future of life. Peatlands work with us, even if you are only a small portion of planetary landmass. We are in service of your contribution. Eini, mutually, hol hol tol. Yeah. Okay, and with this, I'm gonna stop sharing. And we want to take a moment to share our intentions. So I'm gonna ask you to take a pen and a piece of paper, or even if you don't have a paper, you can use your hand and write down one word of offering to this meeting. I'm gonna give you a moment so you can think on that word. You can write it down in the language that you want to. It doesn't have to be in English. Okay, so take a time and write down one word. Okay, if you have it ready, I'm gonna ask you to turn on your camera so we can all put out a piece of paper in the camera. If you have a filter, make sure to put it close to your face so we can see the paper. So put it there so we can see it. Remember, if you have a filter, you should put it close to your face so we can see it and not be blurry. I'm gonna go through. I love that Jan have like a cardboard. Inspiration. What? Collaboration. Escucha. Compromiso. What else? Thankful. Amor. I love those words. Curiosity for people that didn't have the camera. Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And now we must get into the task, right? So I'm gonna invite Cami so she can lead us through the activities.
Hi, everyone. Confluence was my word. which is what's happening right now. We're gathering again before the end of the year and looking towards 2024. So a reminder, those of us who were in Venice decided that we would keep the biennial structure and that we would use that intention to meet every 2 years. The idea for the beginning of this time that we're spending together today is that we discuss that, we make a decision as a group, and we discuss some other pre-agreed goals. So as you know, but I'll refresh our memory, the Venice Agreement consisted of those of us who were in Venice, traveled there, and spent 2 full, playful days together. And we had participants who stayed closer to their own peatlands. And a couple of days prior to the work that we did in Venice, they did the same. They received a workshop kit, moved through the same exercises, and produced some knowledge that then they submitted. Anto gathered all of that, digested it, and shared it with those of us in ocean space. So what we have as a first task today is to decide as a group how we will gather in 2024. There are 3 options, and we're going to get a poll started. So one is to keep this multi-locational gathering that I just described, and that I think was part of the uniqueness of the Venice Agreement, or the foundational meeting of the Venice Agreement. By that, I don't mean to say that we need to repeat it, but I just want to highlight that it was very special, that we integrated both processes into one single result. So that would be option A, to keep it multi-local. Option B would be to concentrate on a single location for a 1 in-person meeting, sending representatives, or just basing it on that in-person experience. And C is to have a fully virtual gathering, which would include 1 or several sessions that would all happen online. So those are the 3 options in the poll. So Anto will share a poll, and you get to just vote. And you'll notice that the option of a hybrid meeting isn't in there. Again, because we really favored this in person. So not having people that are live having to go online, but rather this multi-location would be that. So I'm seeing the poll grow, and it seems like a tendency is for that multi-location. There are 15, 16, this is going to be unanimous.
There's no doubt.
Oh, I agree. I haven't voted, but I totally agree. I think to be in the flesh is super important for the type of spirit that we are imbuing this document with. So since that seems to be decided, that that's the kind of gathering we want to dream up together, one thing that we discussed when we met last time on December 6th, a year ago, was that it would be important to have some sense of how effective the Venice Agreement is, how we are mobilizing it in our spaces, and what indicators seem to be useful for us to measure and to attend to the way in which this document helps us achieve some of the needs that we defined. I'll refresh our memory a little bit about some examples that came up on that December 6th meeting. Right, so one of our needs was protection of peatlands. And what we came up with as an indicator was a mapping of the areas of peatlands under protections and how these have been growing with and through Venice Agreement. A second need that we had detected was the recognition of cultural, spiritual, and ancestral value of peatlands. And so we talked about an indicator that could be a pooling of the number of cultural events, gatherings that were hosted by Venice Agreement members. These could have been in art galleries and community centers and public spaces. They could be small or large, but that seek to recognize the culturally specific value and spiritual and ancestral presence of peatlands. And then just two more examples for the need to have meaningful resources. We talked about new local activists, and the number of local activists. So looking at what sort of financial resources, what institutional supports we were getting to really assess where the meaningful resources are. And finally, for the need for continuous re-education of ourselves, we talked about also keeping tabs on the number of exchanges of information, of knowledge, of experience amongst ourselves and slowly with a growing community. So we thought it was important that we discuss the topic of indicators. We're not going to go back into the indicators. We're going to do this in small groups just for 5 minutes. And the idea here is to discuss first, and I'll paste the questions in the chat, and they're just guiding questions. Do these indicators serve us still? Do we want indicators to be part of the Venice Agreement conversation? Right? And is it something that we want to prioritize on June 2nd? A kind of tracking of what the Venice Agreement is via whether it is serving the needs that we collectively drafted. And if we do, so in your groups, you'll discuss if you think it's something that's working for us, the indicators. And then if you decide yes, how? How do we do this? Do we evaluate this at the next meeting? Do we analyze the results? Maybe just some first creative ideas to get our juices flowing. So Anto will create some breakout rooms. You'll be in there for 5 minutes. I'll paste these questions in the chat, and I just ask that one person in the group be the note taker. And so if you could just be in the very chat, picking what seems most relevant to share in the group. So again, do we use indicators to decide whether the Venice Agreement is working? And you'll see why I'm asking this question in the next exercise that we'll do. All of it trying to lead us to the where, what, and how of our next multi-located meeting. Anto, take it away.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna give you 6 minutes and then we go back. Okay. So please make sure to get your main ideas of the discussion so you can bring it back to the whole group. Okay. The guiding questions are in the chat already. If someone have problems with the language of their group, please let us know. You can go back to the main room and I can reassign you a group. Okay.
Hello
Welcome
again.
back.
We were very fast.
We were super punctual.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We'll just wait a second for everybody to come back. I'll ask that the note takers share their reports in the chat, and I'll just call on a couple of us to say one or two things so that we hear some voices. But please do put what you learned from the group in the chat so that we can all read. Okay, who do I see here? Christy. Hi, do you want to share something from your group? We can't hear you.
Great. I was with who was it? Svancha and I blanked. Kate. And so question one, do we want to use indicators to work if the agreement to check if the agreement is working? Absolutely yes. But we had a question, will those indicators remain the same? And are there resources available to help the organizations achieve or like evaluate if they're doing those indicators? For example, in my region, there are a lot of peatlands that are not recorded, and I don't know how to do the mapping. Other organizations have different KPIs that might be more interesting for them to focus on and might need resources. So if yes, how should we do this? We think that maybe we can set local focus points. So for example, GMC is good at mapping. So maybe one group wants to focus on mapping, maybe another wants to focus on cultural indicators, interviewing elders, something like that, so that not everybody has to develop new resources to be able to achieve all of the KPIs. So we receive different kinds of information from different places. Some can be translated into numbers, some might be better as a story or a different kind of representation. We have the term action teams, each focusing on the most relevant KPI local to them, analyze the results and teach how it was done. If yes, how? Evaluate before the meeting. So we think some organizations will have more capacity and knowledge on how to evaluate the work. And those organizations can do that before the meeting and present their evaluations. Those that need support on how to evaluate can present their learning and then maybe receive support from the group as a whole on how evaluation and analysis, what kind could be applied to their specific learning.
Thanks, Christy.
Okay.
I'm going to call on one more person. Or is there somebody who's dying to share? Also, hands. Anybody? Adriana, ¿quieres compartir? Si quieres.
Había otra chica del grupo que se ofreció a anotar, pero no me acuerdo el nombre, no la veo ahora. Bueno, si no comparto lo que dijimos, no lo anoté yo, lo anotó otra chica.
I will translate for you, Adriana. So maybe just.
No. There was another girl who wrote results, but I don't see her now. Okay, but I can say it. We definitely we all agree that it's important to discuss about the indicators in June, and we thought that maybe the local groups can make some agreements before going to the about what indicators are the best for this for the seguimiento, how do you say, of the Venice Agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Of the Venice Agreement. So it's what we talk about.
Thank you.
But I don't see the girl who wrote the results.
I think she's put them in. I think she's put them in the chat. So we'll download the chat. So we'll have all of this, these decisions and these conversations. And maybe just one last one very shortly. Irene, do you want to share?
Yes, I can share. So our conversation went in a bit of a different direction, not so much about the process of evaluation, but rather about the associations we have with the word indicators. And we all agreed that it is good for the Venice Agreement to have a process, a shared understanding of assessing impact. But that indicators, as a word, rings quite technical and quite narrow and very quantitative. So we were brainstorming about a different way to call this process of evaluating impact. And one word that I think we all quite liked was the word of harvesting. And this way we can also yeah, we can collect and gather everything that has happened, everything that has happened in the dissemination process, in the like really bringing this Venice Agreement to our communities, any actions following from that, and talk about it together. What worked well, what didn't work well, and go beyond the maybe narrow boxes that are being ticked with only going with indicators.
Thank you. I think already that shows what a rich team we are and how our very many disciplines will help us to not only come up with the right word and the right process, but what's evident is that we all are really concerned with this being effective. So it's highly poetic and yet also very rooted on the ground. We want to see transformation and change happening in our local communities. And this takes us to the second group exercise that we're going to do. And again, just getting kind of warming up for the work that we can all continue to collaborate on. And the Venice Agreement is a living document. This is something that we decided when we all co-wrote it. By that, we know that we mean that it is it's open to change. And as we grow the community, there is going to be a need to also include new concepts, to refine the needs and the values. And as also we achieve our indicators, or as we gather and harvest from our experience, we will probably need to also include some of that in the Venice Agreement. So, we've got a poetic section, we have our needs and values, there's a map that shows where and who has signed the Venice Agreement, there's all of this diversity of the comments, there's the signatures. So we thought that for a couple of minutes, we could discuss this idea of the living document, again in groups, and reflect on two questions again. Which parts of the agreements should be revisited on June 2nd? Is it only the needs and values section, or are there other options? Are there parts of the agreements that we want to keep, not static, but keep as reminders of our foundation? And then what parts do we feel really need to biannually be revised? And then the second question is, along the lines of this living document, how do we revise it? So if you have any creative suggestions about that, do we revise it every 2 years? Do we revise it via an online web form that then gets sent to a committee? This is a first conversation about this. So again, we're going to go into different groups. Again, we'll paste those questions in the chat. You'll have a couple of minutes in the groups to just share ideas, and please have a note taker for that. And Anto, please send us off in groups. I'm not sure, this might be a little bit of a shorter group.
Yeah.
So make sure that everybody speaks, and we'll see you back here in how many minutes, Anto?
5.
5.
Okay, so a quick talk. Okay. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the room. We're going to keep the same format. So whoever was note-taking, please share in the chat some of the ideas that came up. And I'll just call on a couple of people so that we hear. Maybe I'll just call on 2 this time and try and keep it brief. Unless somebody is dying to talk, I'll just
I think Diane can explain a good idea.
Perfect. Go for it, Diana.
Thanks so much. I think it's also, I don't think we had a note taker, but I'll write it down afterwards. I guess that the idea is that we felt like we don't want to change the language of the agreement. If anything, Carla, Adriana, and I were mentioning that there might be a need to like reflect on the needs, and we have some time till June to do that. Secondly, we thought that the side that we thought would be dynamic and changing and growing, we could use it as a tool. The map side, where we have the different signatures, we have the different language, both like a local language or different sort of augmented to the Venice Agreement. And we thought that that could actually be a tool that we could use to track, you know, have we expanded? Are there more individuals? So putting more and more on the map. And I offered, because we have as GPI a virtual pavilion and we have a map. So to place this in a space online that could actually be seen on that virtual map. And then we also shared, you know, this real importance of making sure that it speaks to the language of the people in the communities. Communities can put themselves on the map, and we see the Venice Agreement growing and growing in that way. And that we would think that on the side of the actual agreement language, with the poem, that we could invite those communities to translate it into their own language. And sometimes when they translate it into their own language, you get some missing of the words, right? Some are sensitive and some don't give the feeling. So could we invite them? We could invite them to change it to reflect the spirit of the English language or the Spanish language version. Thanks.
Great ideas, Diana. So good. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to call on anybody else, but I will just speak out of something that Caroline said in the group that I was in, which was the possibility of thinking about different formats. So do we take some highlights from the agreement and make them into other posters, maybe create a handheld version, harking a little bit what you were saying, Diana, about the map being some you know, very dynamic, but sometimes difficult to read because of the size of the text. So maybe there are some design elements. So it's not just about revising the text, but also revising the design. And so please share in the chat. We'll take everything and we'll bring it to the next section, which is not an exercise, but more an intention setting. A goal for the 2024 meeting will be to decide how we will organize ourselves from now on. As you know, Ensayos, WCS, and Greifswald, and for those who haven't yet met Ulrike officially, and I'll introduce Ulrike because she will be speaking in a couple of minutes and leading us to the final section of our gathering. Ulrike is new to our team, but a major player into the future. She's been hired by the Greifswald Meyer Center to lead Sensing Peat, a project that is cooperating with the Venice Agreement, hosts some of it, and will also create new strands for it. And so, you know, we all have so many projects on the that we participate regarding peatlands, but the Venice Agreement is this special place where we gather. And so how do we govern this special place, this accord, and where it might take us? So the question of creating a governance structure will come up for us in Venice, on June 2nd. So I just want to put that in your minds to begin to think about that, how this leadership will be shared so that it's not always WCS, Greifswald, and Ensayos convening, but that we might generate another structure. And that said, already for June 2nd, we're hoping that we can, in the following months, constitute a small group of members of the Venice Agreement who will generate the first draft of a possible governance structure, and do that alongside the design of the meeting. because it'll be one of the topics that we'll discuss on June 2nd. How do we implement a governance structure? What are the roles that we need? And how does it secure the sustainability of the initiative in the years to come? So I'm putting this out there so that you think about it and let us know if you're interested in becoming part of the governance proposal team. It's important to note that this group will be getting together at least 2 times a month, and that there might be some tasks in between meetings. So assess whether you think you have time to participate. And if you don't, that's fine. You will be brought into the folds of it and no decisions will be made without you, but you will already be arriving to a governance structure that has been reflected on, and possibly there's already some parameters for it. So that said, I'll pass it over to Ulrike, who will lead us on reflecting how, where, and who should meet in 2024.
Yes, exactly. That's my part now. Welcome all. It's such a pleasure to meet here and to have the chance to think our next meeting on June 2nd, 2024, on the World Peatlands Day. And it's very important that for bringing the Venice Agreement further, that we think about the how team, which is related to who would like to bring themselves in, who would like to participate and take over certain tasks. So we have thought about certain committees, which include design, logistics, fundraising, and communication. And we would love if you could think about a possible engagement in these fields of activity. So design means that you have to co-shape the event, that you also think about communication channels, that you think about certain ways to spread the Venice Agreement further, and to think about how to give a face to the Venice Agreement for 2024. Logistics is self-explanatory. Fundraising is, of course, something we really have to think about, especially if we want to meet on site in flesh. It's something that we really have to also be able to finance. So this is like a super important task as well. And then communications, which of course has some overlaps with design. And we don't want to put any pressure on you, but I would like to enhance or make you understand that this has a strong meaningfulness, and that is creating a great sense of community, that it's a pleasure to work on this Venice Agreement for certain reasons. And there's one person here also, Jan Peters, who would like to tell us a little bit about the past years and how this working on the Venice Agreement has enriched his working life. That would be nice if you can say a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks, Ulrike. That's a great pleasure to be here again and to meet all of you again, at least virtually. And yeah, as Ulrike said, it had been a great journey so far. We had been pulled in by Camilla and others by the by the Chilean Pavilion at the Biennale last year, and we got this request like, can we do something together? Can we do a Sphagnum lab? Can we bring Sphagnum mosses from Germany to Venice? Can we do this installation? And there were so many challenges, but we all managed them, and we were drawn into so many new thinking, new perspectives, new ways, new ideas about it. It got so creative, and then the idea of the Venice Agreement actually came up, to meet there in person in Venice and to bring together these different worlds of artists, of musicians, of scientists, of NGO people, of also government people, and discuss what actually peatlands mean to us, why peatlands matter for us. And yeah, for me, as I'm working already for many years, as many of you, on peatlands, that was such a great endeavor to get these different perspective, that I now think that is probably at least similar important to think about these narratives, these pictures, these views, than about scientific, technical things on peatland restoration, conservation. So we really need that for the world, and I think the Venice Agreement is such a great thing to bring that further and spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, this means a lot. And if one of you or some of you feel the desire to engage and to become part of the How team, it would be fantastic. Please write your name into the chat and write also the committee that you would like to become part of into the chat. Or you can also tell us now. Yeah. And I'm also a fan of trying out new things. So if before you haven't really cared about logistics or fundraising, it's time to learn it step by step. Because of course, in every committee, we will have an expert. And then you can just become knowledgeable in this field that you haven't really been a part of yet. Okay, and we also get back to you at a later point and ask again, but just make up your mind. Would be great if you have an idea where you would like to become a committee member. So the next point I would like to talk about is who has the desire or the capacity to host the next in-person meeting of our Venice Agreement signature group. So who would like to offer their place? Who has an idea where we could do it, where we could see each other again and learn from each other, revisit the Venice Agreement? Is there anybody who would like to share a place or an idea, or who would like to share also related events like parallel events, which could be interesting?
Do you have some place? Have you thought about some place?
No, not yet. We are asking the group. Swarm intelligence. We are relating on swarm.
Do you think about Europe or Latin America? Or what do you think is better? I think now maybe that, yes.
Will be ideal if we don't have any other place.
The south.
Yeah, but will be ideal to make it in the south. South hemisphere, so we can like turn one time there, one time here.
Diana wants to say something. Diana wants to say something.
Yeah, so I'd love to be able to commit, but I have to wait until the new year. But the Global Peatlands Initiative will be having our 4th meeting of our partners, and we're obliged to host it physically in Peru. And it would be interesting, and we could see if we could add, you know, one day, half a day session explicitly on the Venice Agreement. It's something that I would definitely offer. So if there's a physical, and I could reach out to the Peruvian government.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just about the timing, because, you know, I see the discussion was around June. But June is definitely not going to be on the board for Peru government because of the timing of other meetings. So you know, if we're flexible to be, you know, going anywhere from June till September, October, then we could see if we could co-locate it with the Global Peatlands Initiative 4th meeting of the partners. And I have to hope, keep everyone's fingers crossed that Germany will kindly fund us for the next term.
Fingers crossed. Germans should listen to us. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing this great idea. I'm sure we can have some flexibility in that. Does anybody else have something to say about this?
Oh, not on the previous point, but I have another point. Is that fine?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as some of you probably know, we've been doing this Peat Fest gathering, which was mostly online for the past 3 years. But this year we didn't do it because we decided that we would also make it biannual. And we wanted to do more offline events. So we're planning on this in 2024 doing more offline events. So either one, we put more resources in, or maybe like 2 or 3. So I am wondering whether that also could connect somehow. But we're still early stages, but looking mostly now in the UK. So not quite South America, but yeah, but maybe that can connect somehow.
Okay, Alejandra and Caroline would also like to say something. Please, Alejandra, go first.
Yeah, so we just talked about an idea in the group that I would love for the Venice, for the map part, if one could zoom in and actually start seeing what everyone is doing. Maybe we start with just some images, but it would be beautiful to see, oh, there's someone in Africa. Let's zoom in and see who that is, what they're doing. And I think that could also make people who aren't part of the Venice Agreement feel that they could get closer to it as well. And just to start, something happens when you see other people doing things and you get excited and you realize it isn't that hard, or you could do it as well. I don't know, I've seen it a lot here in Chile in terms of peatlands or other initiatives. So I think that that would be really beautiful to just start seeing faces and places, for it not just to be a dot in the map, but actually to understand context.
This is a great input also for the design of our platform that we are building. Yeah. Caroline, please.
Yeah, hello. I was thinking also alongside the meeting, if it would be possible in autumn, and then this multi-locational possibility, because I would not be able to host a big meeting, but could be like what also Frankie said, something happening in parallel and then could be connected, because I'm planning to host a smaller symposium here in Tromsø. I'm in the Arctic North, and that would be then September, October sometime. I mean, it's a funding situation to figure out, but that's at least the plan, and that's what I wanted to put out there to combine. And also very interested in Peat Fest, of course.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Frankie and Caroline, can you put it in the chat so we can have that, write it down, please?
And I would add that I have a venue for us for 2026.
Maybe Ushuaia? Maybe Ushuaia here in the south of the world.
And Diana, you also raised your hand.
Ushuaia,
Yeah.
the south of the world.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to get there. I would love, I think that if there's, I know that there's something sort of around June, probably for Peatlands Day, maybe happening in UK. So I can connect Frankie with that. Maybe there's a groundswell, right? You know, these moments where we get into the personal, into the in-person meetings. And on the idea of zooming into the map and putting faces and having recordings, this is the intention of the virtual Peatlands Pavilion. You can go to the recent one that was for the COP28. We have the COP26, and actually there was Patagonia Peatlands Pavilion. So I would also share that with you after this. We can have a space for Venice Agreement in any of these places.
Okay, thank you for all these fantastic ideas. Now we are very short in time already. I have one more request to you, and this is about diversifying the Venice Agreement. And we would like to include policymakers from the Global South, for instance, from the Swana region. So because we would really like to have a spirit of being more inclusive, invite representatives from all continents, from diverse backgrounds, to make our Venice Agreement richer. If you have any ideas for people that could be included, that could be invited to our meetings, that could potentially become part of the community, please let us know and get in touch with one of us or with all of us. We would really like to grow and become more diverse. And yeah, so we will also reach out again to ask you for names and for ideas who could also join our community. So is there anything somebody would like to add? Is there something you would like to say? Because we are closer to ending our meeting, unfortunately, and we will be back in touch after New Year's. So wait for our next email, and we hope to really get the vibe going and to find something to meet next year. And we will collect all your ideas and all your inputs, and then reevaluate what is possible, what is not possible, and make a plan.
Yeah, thank you, Ulrike. Yeah, if you have any idea, if you want to volunteer one of the committee and you don't know right now, but you come up with idea in a couple of days, please reach up. If you talk with your colleagues and you decide that you could host the next meeting, you can also tell us in a couple of days. So please continue thinking about what we talked today, and you can give ideas. We know that 1 hour is very short for all the things that we have been discussing. So if you need more time to think about, you can reach us in the next few days. And with that said, I think Ulrike said everything. We will give you the results. We will analyze what are the possibilities, and let you know. We will have to have another meeting. So just, I don't know, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and we are communicating with you really soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye to all of
everyone.
you.
Stay well.
Gracias.
See you soon.
Ciao.
Goodbye.
Gracias.
Gracias.